It's not always cloudy here in New York, but there's always a pretty good chance of meatballs. And Chef Daniel Holzman and his best friend and business partner, Michael Chernow, are now the reasons why.
They opened their first meatball shop here in New York in 2010. It was an instant hit, and a whole lot of meatballs later, there are now 5 meatball shops in the city, including a new one on Manhattan's Upper East Side. So we are delighted to welcome Chef Daniel Holzman and his meatballs to the dish. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
I
for
really
being
appreciate
here.
it.
We don't have to ask you what you brung because you brung meatballs, but I mean, what else have we got?
I brought meatballs. My favorite meatballs, the spicy. Did I just choose a meatball? That's tough for me.
Yeah.
The spicy pork meatballs with spicy meat sauce. Polenta, because I'm feeling a little indulgent. And then it's Thanksgiving, and there's nothing I like more than roasted Brussels sprouts. And we roast them with apples and onions and candied pecans with maple syrup. We've got butternut squash that we topped with saba and ricotta salata, which is a dried ricotta, fresh ricotta that they dry. And then green beans. Because
And you
I
have
love
to
green
tell us
beans.
about this drink, because Anthony's been pretty excited about it.
So a Pimm's Cup is a classic drink, and it's a gin-based liquor, Pimm's, and with ginger ale and fresh fruit, and you can kind of make it seasonal. We put some oranges and kiwi fruit.
You can try this.
What do you think? What's going on?
I can tell they put the gin right on the top, so I love it.
I think a Pimm's Cup is an amazing picnic drink,
Right.
but it can work into the evening for you.
We want to talk a little about your background, because it really is interesting. You're a very classically trained chef. And I think a lot of people associate meatballs with not as high-end as some of the restaurants that you worked in. How did you make that transition or choice?
Working in restaurants, working in restaurants is amazing. And you know, it's very difficult to work in a restaurant where your friends and your family can't afford to eat. And so I worked in all these high-end places, but I lost that kind of connection to the people that I loved and that I knew. So a meatball shop was an opportunity to open a place that my family could actually spend time in and my friends could eat. And we opened up the kitchen, and it's right in the middle of the dining room, and it's kind of like an extension of our living room.
You started out working at Le Bernardin, right?
I did.
And you were 15 years old.
13, but there are
13.
labor laws that I'm not allowed to say.
So you actually got a job at 13?
Not a job, but I was able to
Washing
spend time.
some dishes?
I was watching. They didn't even let me wash the dishes. I had to watch the dishwasher.
How did you talk yourself into that?
A really, really close friend in high school, her father was the maitre d', and he got me and introduced me to Eric
Right.
Prepare, the chef, and I was late for my interview.
Right, nice work.
But he gave me a job anyway.
You know, he really encouraged you to go to the Culinary Institute of America.
He got
What
me a
did he see in
scholarship.
you? Yeah,
I think that he, I just think I was so lucky, you know, maybe because I just had no idea what I was doing. So I was kind of just fumbling around, and he was like, this guy needs a proper training. I can't even teach him. We need a team of teachers to help this guy out.
So, and that's really what got you going.
Really working in that environment with, you know, just the passion that exists and the camaraderie within the kitchen, it picked me up, and I knew it was for me.
You weren't thinking, when you went to culinary school, you weren't thinking meatballs, were you?
I never even dreamed of meatballs. Meatloaf, maybe. My
Meatloaf.
grandmother made amazing meatloaf, so.
And it's interesting, because I think people think of meatballs and they think it's Italian, which you are not.
So the funny thing about meatballs, I thought of it as Italian, and I worked in fancy Italian restaurants, so I kind of brought that to the table. But you know, meatballs are really universally loved, and everybody has a food memory of their grandmother, wherever you're from. I mean, every continent celebrates meatballs. It's really amazing.
You have 5 locations now. You started in 2010 with 1.
So quickly, it was
Yeah.
amazing. That wasn't our plan. We were going to have one great restaurant, and then it just kind of, you have this family of people that you're working with, and it's time for them to get a new job, and you know, you think, I want to keep on working with these people, and it was an opportunity to give our chefs and you know, maitre d's their own restaurant. So
What's it like to work with your best friend every day? I imagine it would be good, but also really bad.
It's amazing 98% of the time, and 2% of the time we fight like cats and dogs. And
Right.
when we fight, we say terrible things and drag up our past, and then we make up and love each other. But he goes home to his wife, and then I go out to the bar and have a drink, and we meet the next morning.
98% of the time is pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, well, we're really lucky.
Yeah.
We're really lucky. It's hard to be that lucky and be upset.
Now, quickly, I just want to say, you don't just have like 1 or 2 or 10. I mean, if you go to the restaurant, it's something close to 60 potential options of meatballs.
We have 54 meatballs in rotation, and it just, it never ends because there's no, you know, think of a dish that you love. What's a dish you love?
Meatballs? No, I mean, I love Indian food. I love.
So there you go. So one of our chefs said, you know, I love the idea of tikka masala. I love tikka masala. I'm like, wow, that's a great dish. Let's make a tikka masala meatball.
Very creative.
It just happened.
Hopefully you don't run out of meatball possibilities.
I think we're good.
I shall gracefully drop the pen, but we want to have
Oh
you
my gosh.
sign the
Thank
dish
you
for
so
us.
much.
This is
amazing.
absolutely delicious. Chef Daniel Holzman, thank you so much for being with us. For more on Daniel Holzman and the dish, head to our website at cbsnews.com/CBS This Morning.